नमस्कार, मैं आरबी सिंह यादव और आप देख रहे हैं मेरा यूट्यूब चैनल आरबी सिंह यादव एडिटर। दयालबाग विश्वविद्यालय में इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार और दयालबाग का की 6वीं ये सेमिनार और विश्व स्तरीय 47वीं सेमिनार का आज समापन हुआ और इस समापन में सारे वक्ताओं ने बढ़ चढ़ कर हिस्सा लिया। तमाम चीज़ें पेश की गई जो हम आपके सामने कुछ चीज़ें हमने अपने 7वें वीडियो में रखी, जो पिछला वीडियो जो आप देख रहे हैं उसमें, और इस वीडियो के अंत में जो कुछ भी है वो हम आपको जो छूटा है वो सब हम दिखा देंगे, सारे वक्ताओं को दिखा देंगे। तो आपने चैनल अभी तक मेरे जो नए श्रोता हैं मेरे चैनल को देखते हैं, रिपोर्टिंग को पसंद करते हैं, तो वो मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब भी करें और वीडियो को शेयर करना बिल्कुल ना भूलें। शेयर करते करते इस वीडियो को लाइक भी करें। तो पहले आपको मैं ये वीडियो अंतिम वीडियो है इसे दिखाने जा रहा हूँ और फिर आगे मैं बात करूँगा आपसे।
Why would anyone want to do that? The obvious answer then is that there are some expectations, career growth, or any other benefits for which that research is being pursued, and therefore it becomes important for the research to be completed within a specific time, with certain quality, and so on parameters that exist. And that's why people resort to trials. So the question that was raised was, are there enough regulatory authorities? We need regulatory authorities when there is no self-regulation. When the person who is resorting to such unethical practices is doing so, and since he's doing it at a research level, it is natural to expect that doing so knowingly rather than unknowingly in most cases. Some cases people do by mistake because they do not know the law related to such things. So what is the role of regulation? How hard can the regulation be? As pointed out, computer science does offer some kind of solutions. Now there are tools that check for plagiarism, and those tools are getting better and better. So the databases which they have access to have become enormous, and so now it's very much likely that you are picking up something from a standard application and yet getting away with it. The other question that was raised was about AI-generated content. I talked about it. So there are tools now that also talk about verifying whether a content has been generated through AI or it is human generated. But then the race keeps going on. People get better and better at fooling the current AI tools. AI tool designers get better and better at designing tools that capture even those changes and so on. And that's never ending. The only solution to this conundrum is self-regulation in terms of getting into value-based application, wherein the researcher, right from the beginning, has a value system that he or she follows, and therefore would consciously avoid such unethical practices. The other area which will naturally prohibit or inhibit such unethical research endeavors is when a person is trying to do something for the society in terms of research endeavors. So, when, for example, mentions were made about laboratory mentions were made about Yamuna visualization, and these are tasks that there are evidences that anyone can see and everyone can appreciate. And when a person is doing this kind of task, then there is no question of resorting to any kind of analytical practices. So, what I would suggest as a strategy at the university level is that we approach this problem from both sides. We inculcate a set of values in our students and also have regulatory mechanisms wherein departmental research committees are going through the drafts, doing the work of the research scholars. Periodically, every 6 months, we are supposed to give a presentation in a research colloquium wherein people can actually see what they have done and the progress that they have made and the kind of work that they are producing. We have invested in tools that check for both plagiarism as well as for AI-generated content. So, we're looking at the solution from both ways, from inculcating values and using technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moving on further, I have a very interesting person, Dr. V.K. Kalra. He was also instrumental. He was, in fact, was there at the kickoff event, which happened with the guidance of Honorable Education Minister at Orissa in Bhubaneswar, the kickoff of RISE campaign. So we had the occasion where Dr. V.K. Kalra and Dr. Pamli Duwaji both joined, and he was also part of the panel there. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time today being here. He is the former head of computer science IIT Delhi and also the current president of System Society of India. I would request your thoughts on research integrity because you've been very actively looking at this field from computer science and AI in this emerging world. How do you look at research integrity?
Thank you, Venkatesh, for this opportunity. In fact, I agree to most of the views which have been expressed by the earlier panelists. I think research integrity comes from personal integrity, right? So the basic values and ethics have to be brought in right from the beginning. And in fact, I must say that TI is one of the institutions where it starts right from the beginning. And I really feel privileged and fortunate to be an alumni of this place. Coming to computer science as a discipline and the impact of research integrity on it. In fact, like any other discipline, computer science faces similar kind of challenges and opportunities. So one different thing which could relate to computer science is not only the content in terms of the data and the experimentation and so on, but also the programs and the codes. So as was mentioned by the director, there are lots of tools available which help you do the detection of the similarity, and therefore you can detect whether there have been some plagiarism of that sort. Now, and also, I really like the exposition, by Nick Tango, who actually did a very comprehensive overview. And considering the aspect of AI, and you mentioned about responsible AI. Okay? So AI plays a role of preventing or detecting such kinds of episodes, but at the same time it also can create the issues in terms of creating fake publications, right?
I would now move to Nick Campbell, maybe his thoughts, and then of course I will move to Pamli Duwaji in the order. So your thoughts, you already covered on research integrity. Anything specific you have, because you've been in India, this is your second institution, you are at IDS yesterday, today at DEI. Any one specific thought, of course you covered a lot in your session, but one specific thought quickly you want to share.
Yes, and we'll be quick because I've already talked enough. Firstly, I wanted to say the points that have already been brought up by my fellow panellists have been really completely on point for me. That, in particular, the research assessment point you made just now is absolutely vital. You know, what drives this bad behaviour is sometimes the way we assess people, and there is a global trend to really look at this area, to reform research assessment in a responsible way that still acknowledges the fact that we need to communicate our research, but also acknowledges that there are other contributions as well, and it should, and we need to be careful about the unintended consequences of putting everything on the research publication as a way of measuring good research. So I'll just add one additional point, and that is around the role of open science. Because I totally agree with the points made before. Values-based education being a really important way of doing it, supported by training tools and so on that can really embed the knowledge in the young early career researchers. But also, what makes research integrity more solid and harder to get around is when everything we do in science is open, right? The more we can get to openness, so the more we have the underlying data available to everybody to see, the more pointless it is to try and fabricate papers, because you have to fabricate data as well, and you have to fabricate everything underpins it. So the more open we can get in our science practice, that light, shining a light on good science, will really help us move forward the research integrity agenda globally. And that's why we at K&H, I think, are very, very focused on open science as a movement we need to support.
Thanks, Dr. Nick. Really appreciate your thoughts. Moving on further to Dr. Pamit Waji. She's our esteemed author, editor. She contributed to many books, and she was also...
I'd like to congratulate Institute for their nice initiative, Research Integrity in Science and Education, and to take this initiative pan-India. I think that sends a signal to all the researchers across the country that we care about research, we care about you, and we want you to do good research. The second thing, what I think is very important about today's event, that this is happening in a value-based institution. So here values are ingrained from birth itself, and therefore the research scholars or others don't need to be educated on values. And as Professor B.B. Gupta pointed out, when he set out to make out the code of ethics for his program, he realized that the aims and objects of the education policy came in the code itself. So the situation is different here. Nevertheless, we have to make all researchers aware of what the issues with research are, whether there are research misconduct or research integrity. Both issues we have to make them aware so that the researchers can protect themselves and the institution can protect itself. So in general, if we want to foster a culture of research integrity and ensure that research is conducted ethically and responsibly, it is important for an institution to follow a code of conduct for research and research integrity. This would help to establish the foundation of high quality, credible and honest research, as well as a transparent, reliable and conscientious research culture. The Code of Conduct would lay out the principles and expectations of conducting responsible research of highest international standards. It would also specify best research practices, including compliance with legal, ethical and professional standards. The code would also explain potential breaches or research misconduct and their nature and consequences. The responsibility of an institution is thus to raise awareness of the importance of research integrity and of the possible consequences if appropriate standards are not maintained. Through the dissemination of information on the Code of Conduct, and related policies and procedures via training and development forums. An institution can educate researchers on the values and principles underlying a good research system. This would foster a trustworthy and supportive research environment. A robust research system rests on the foundation of values and principles. Fundamental values important for research integrity include honesty, trust, fairness, respect, and responsibility. These values, along with courage to act on them, are the basis for ethical decision making for academic institutions. These ensure that researchers report findings that are honest and accurate, respect and acknowledge works of others, respect and care for all participants in research, including humans, animals, and environment, collaborate and share information, discuss new ideas freely, and work towards conflict resolution. These values are reinforced by 5 fundamental principles for academic and research integrity. These include excellence, cooperation, accountability, training, and safety. These facilitate compliance with legal and ethical requirements and transparency in all processes, and promote open exchange of ideas and training in research skills. These also ensure safety and well-being of all involved in research and avoid risk or harm to research subjects and others. So while advocating these values and principles provides a sound basis for good research practices, it is imperative to create awareness of research misconduct and its consequences. Examples of research misconduct are fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, or failure to meet legal, ethical, and professional norms. Fabrication means making up of data or results and recording or reporting them. It is the practice of generating data without having performed the relevant research. Falsification, on the other hand, is manipulating research materials, equipment, or processes, or changing or omitting data or results. Plagiarism, we are all familiar with, is the appropriation of another person's ideas, processes, results, or words without giving appropriate credit. So this is very important for an academic institution to make everyone aware of the meaning and implications of research misconduct. An institution should also use transparent, robust, and fair processes to deal with allegations of research misconduct should they arise. So there should be disciplinary procedures, investigation, and penalty policies in place. Therefore, what each institution requires is a strong governance system for ensuring a responsible and ethical research system. An institution should develop clear, fair academic integrity policies and procedures, including ethics committees, animal welfare and ethics committee, environment committee, intellectual property policy, and so on. So with this, by creating awareness, and we can avoid problems in research. The idea here is to avoid problems and to help the researchers and to produce or create an environment that is conducive to good research practices.
Thank you so much, Professor Pamidwani, for your valuable inputs. Professor Anna, I think it's muted from your side. If you can kindly unmute it. Professor Daya, can you just look into the...
First of all, I thank you very much also for what I just heard from Professor Pamidwani. I myself would be very grateful if I could get that text, because I think sort of the high points of research ethics were really wonderfully summarized in what you said. The second thing is I think it's a great initiative. I already wrote an email so that I think it's really, really wonderful. One thing which I noticed in the presentations I saw here now is that, of course, that's because of the disciplines present there, that I think considering the humanities, some things look a little bit different from looking at the natural sciences and looking at engineering sciences, because we don't work with empirical research normally. And what I have found out in a very fruitful and inspiring way is that to work internationally in research, in the humanities, you really have to start to define traditions of research, of knowledge production, of the material you work with. And I think when you also want to include the humanities researchers in this fantastic initiative, you would have to address these issues also. Because otherwise, as in so many other cases, humanities are sort of left out because they don't fit in the paradigm of natural sciences and engineering sciences, the empirical, data-driven, quantitative sciences. So that would be just one reminder. In general, yes, I think it's also a fantastic place where this rise is launched. Diabot is just the right place for it. And the book we published, I was a co-editor there, as you know, just shows how international research on one topic with very different knowledge paradigms and approaches can come together to bring really new results. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
In self-regulation of the research system and responsibility of the individual scientist is the key to achieve research integrity. What one sees today is that for recognition, to get position and so on, parameters are valued which are debatable. For example, the number of papers. Somebody is writing 300 papers or 400 papers, and you can think, how many papers has he written per month? Is this really possible? I mean, this is a trend which is not so favorable. I think the quality of work is more work than the quantity of work, and this is something one has to think about. The other issue which is certainly there is somehow to distribute the responsibility from a few authors to a football team or to 100 of authors. I remind you of one landmark paper in science by the consortium who deciphered the human genome. And we cited this paper in our publication, and we got problems because the number of authors were filling 3 pages. So that is something which also should be considered. So I would say that self-regulation of the system and compliance with ethics is important. If somebody is getting some grant from research organizations, say in India, in the USA or whatever, and she or he has to sign to comply to the ethics. So when I'm proposing a funding for the German Research Foundation, I have to give an ethical declaration, and that is a must. But anyway, I mean, these are regulatory measures. In general, I think we need a kind of reshaping of the research culture. Too many journals, too many papers.
lack of quality, but increase the quantity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your thoughts, sir. People online as we speak who are attending this and giving their valuable time and being our audience. Thank you so much. A big round of applause for all those across multiple branches, multiple cities, multiple states, multiple countries who are part of this. With this, in interest of time, I would love to summarize all your thoughts that of course research integrity is important. Different panelists touched upon research integrity issues, how technology is playing a role and how regulators can play a role. We heard from Pammi Duaji about research governance, and we heard about research funding and the role of responsible funding and also driving research integrity. We heard from Dr. Nick Campbell on open science and how it can help in solving this issue to a great extent. With all these views, I would like to sign off as a moderator and thank you very much. And we have a small token of appreciation for all our panelists, esteemed panelists. I would request Abhilasha to help me with that. Thank you so much, everyone. And post this, we have a very interesting session. Not a session, in fact, we have an interesting movement to recognize some of the young women researchers from the Albag Education Institution. It's our part of our journey to empower women researchers. We launched a campaign called Her Research, Our Future. So as part of that, there were poster presentations and which were made by these young women researchers. Basis that we have some shortlisted women researchers. I would request all the women researchers to take their seats right after this panel. We would love to encourage them and recognize them for their efforts. Nick, can you join us? Riya Dadra, the manager for Curious India, and Ram, the head of advocacy, and Nick, of course, vice president advocacy, to pass on the book baton to the director DEI. I will request Dr. Vardhan to your challenges, your issues. A copy will be circulated to Government of India. Thank you, Vardhan.
I invite Sun Superman Revolutionary Scheme Coordinator, Dr. Radhika Singh, to call out the names of the children who have performed very beautiful cultural program during the day.
Title 1. K. Surashabda, student of class C, school DIT title. K. Surashabda.
Yes.
A. Agam Shabda. N. Amar Yadav. Dinesh Vesh, Karan Sinha, Gurdash, Radha Ji, Neeraj Sharma. Samar,
One of you wants, is it you to somehow? No? Okay. But anyway, come on, we will find your certificate. Meanwhile, I think your rice will come on. Yeah. To do the closing note for this evening.
Thank you. One of the panelists just mentioned that the Dayalbagh Educational Institute has implemented the open book examination during semesters and non-semester examinations. But in Dayalbagh, we have every day an open book examination. You can't guess the questions, you can't guess their duration, but still we enjoy it, and there has been a lot of learning in this process. And these small things, they may appear to be so small, but they have a profound impact on our minds, on our life, on our lifestyle. And such small things keep happening in Dayalbagh every day almost. And it is with this backdrop that I am confidently and convincingly able to say that Dayalbagh Educational Institute is way ahead of most of the institutions of this world. It is the assessment people who have to find variables and parameters to assess us. We are far ahead of it, and we will continue to march under the guidance and the visionary leadership of revered Professor Prem Karan Sanghi. Thank you.
Thank you so much everyone for this lovely session. Last but not the least, I would love to thank our MC for the day, Abhilasha. Abhilasha Mathur is our business research manager. Abhilasha, you come here. Ramanathan, the key person in making sure the coordination, almost for more than a month he's been driving all of this. Riya Dadra, the person who's been driving again the bus tour. In case if Charlie is there somewhere, maybe he can stand somewhere. Yes, in the audience. Yes, thank you so much, Charlie. Really appreciate your presence. And of course, many others who are not here but were instrumental in driving this, including our support staff, Kashi, Dinesh and Pawan, who are here. And our very important person, Amit Swami. Amit, if you can stand up, he's been an instrumental person in making this happen. Thank you so much, everyone. And we again look forward for the next year, maybe Bus Tour 3.0, and at the same venue, at the same location with all your blessings. I want to sign off as the Managing Director, Venkatesh Sarvasiti, and look forward for a great opportunity going forward to work with Dayalbagh on research and strengthening science and research from DEI and also for the country. Thank you so much.
ना शस्त्र काट सकता है, ना आग से जला सकती है, ना पानी से भिगो सकता है, ना हवा उसे सुखा सकती है. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind.
Amen. नैनं चिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः नैनं चिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्याहो न शोषयति मारुतः न शोषयति मारुतः
पुनः राधा स्वामी पुनः राधा स्वामी. The next item by Superman is a dance on the name Lead Kindly Light, which expresses a plea for every person's need for divine guidance through life's uncertainties and trust in God's plan.
Lead
polyester, nylon, acrylic, etc. And later on in my career, I took 1 year sabbatical leave and produced a book which was of course edited by me and one of my colleagues on manufactured fiber technology, published by Chapman and Hall. They are well-known publishers of England. That book was used as a textbook, and later on, after a few years, when I was retiring, a German company bought Chapman and Hall, and they converted it into an e-book. And they gave the authors, or rather the editors, the option to let the royalty either go to them or somewhere else. We opted that the royalty should go to the Prime Minister's Fund. And therefore I don't know whether that e-book is still on or not. But I had very good experience in writing that book, and also writing one or two other books. I have great respect for Springer Nature, because I have seen a number of very useful books. For example, a book on values education, which is written by 2 Australian authors, by Springer Nature. Having read it, I realized what is the value of values education. Right? The Australians, through a number of experiments, have shown that educational institutions which go for values education, they generally have a much more calmer atmosphere than other places, and there is respect for the teachers and mutual respect for the students. And therefore the quality of education also improves. And that book shows the quality of education and the other aspects of education, like a DNA molecule, 2 intertwined molecules together. So the first point I would like to make is, when we were asked by the institute authorities, that means when I came to DEI, very recently, under the advice of our Supreme Father, we went from ODL, that is open and distance learning, to online learning for our degree level programs. We have 3 undergraduate programs and 2 postgraduate programs. And Gracious Huzur instructed one day early in the morning in the field that we should go for online programs, but not the usual online programs. It was a very innovative suggestion that we should go for supervised online learning. And today we realize the importance of supervised online learning. So I have written like this: the institute authorities asked us to draw up a code of ethics for online learning. We spent quite a bit of time, but we could do no better than to go back to 1975, when the DEI education policy formulated by Param Guru Huzur Dr. M.B. Lal Sahab was announced. The first 2 aims and objects of this policy are as follows. Aim and object number 1, to bring about physical, intellectual, emotional, and ethical integration of all individuals with a view to evolving a complete person, and 2, to inculcate in an individual a spirit of truthfulness, temperance, and courage, and to cultivate a spirit of humility with living and selfless service, of humility, simple living, and selfless service and sacrifice.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs. I also want to thank DARPAC for their contribution towards the International Year of Tablets. The work DARPAC has done is instrumental. In fact, this morning we also got to learn more about it, and we really appreciate the work around this. Also, we are very happy to see the work, as rightly stated just now, the work around agroecology, Yamuna River, cleaning and preserving, contributing towards the SDGs, and of course, the quality research that comes out from Dale Park, and with special mention of women researchers contributing. Later this post the panel, we also want to reward some of the women researchers and recognize for their efforts from the year. Moving on further, now I have Dr. Patwardhan, the director of DEI. He's also been my teacher when I was a student. I would like to understand from you, sir, computer science is one of your area of expertise. We were students in the U. But again, in the current situation, on the research integrity, the role as a director DEI, how do you see research integrity, especially focused on are there enough regulators and the role of regulators in conducting research in areas around research integrity?
Thank you. I believe when we are talking about research ethics,
आपने ये अंतिम वीडियो देखा जिसमें सारे वक्ताओं ने अपनी अपनी बात रखी, हर मुद्दे पर सवाल जवाब किए गए, सवाल भी हुए, जवाब भी मिले, और हमने कोई इसमें कटौती नहीं की। हमें इस बात का एहसास है कि आधी अधूरी बात रखने से उसका अर्थ का अनर्थ हो जाता है, इसलिए हमने कोशिश की है कि जिन वक्ताओं ने जो कुछ भी बोला है वो उनकी ही लफ्ज़ों में बिल्कुल ओरिजिनल रूप से सभी जनता के सामने जाए। तो आपको ये वीडियो कैसा लगा ज़रूर बताएं। थैंक यू वेरी मच। मैं आर बी सिंह यादव।